is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7804. If you want to get all technical on me, I still need a haircut. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 o'clock on the West Coast, 4 o'clock Tennessee time. Of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders, called Grinderslive. Joining me today, Chris Kirkwood, Kirk Dees, former commissioner of the CPR? CPC? Am I getting those initials correct? What am I?
CPC, Corona Poker Club. Still a board member.
Current board member, winner of multiple six-figure GPPs, and celebrate. Well, I don't know if you're celebrating New Year's this evening. Happy New Year's, everybody out there watching. Happy New Year's, everybody there on YouTube. Celebrate safely. Have a good time. Use an Uber if you have to. Also, I think they're going to be celebrating next. I get the heads up. May or may not be celebrating. It's Tuttle, it's Roth, and it's Means. They take you guys off the lock. They might be a little tipsy. Who knows? Hopefully, not too much news cracks through. Kirkies, we don't have what are your plans? Any sort of big New Year's plans? Is it going to be a big deal or what?
Just an alone night with the lady.
Oh, look at you, man.
I've had to promise that I would focus my attention on her and not DFS, but we'll see how
she's not watching, I hope.
We'll see. She's not. The last thing in the world she would ever want to do is watch a show related to DFS.
Has she ever watched like one just to see like what's it like?
Yeah, to call me a loser. That's what you did maybe one time.
Fair enough. Understood. All right. Hey, YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. We do appreciate all that. There's a lot of chatter on YouTube. What we're doing now is we're going to do our best maybe to incorporate those questions, but not so much because we have a question and answer session. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Kirk. You run a show previously. Our fabulous multitasking producer, Devin D-Train, jumps on the show. You can see his actual face. Sometimes it spins. He has fun with the video. He'll jump on here. He's one of the good ones, by the way, as far as producers. Definitely one of the good ones. So he's going to be jumping on the show. He's going to be asking some questions. The bigger questions, broad game theory questions. That's what we prefer. We'll answer, this guy or that guy, these two guys or those two guys. But if you hear us talking, we just have a conversation. It's not so much, let's talk about this game, let's talk about that game, and just name every single player. That's not necessarily helpful. So if we don't talk about a player you want to hear us talk about, ask us about him in the YouTube, and we'll do our best to knock out that question. Devin is the goalkeeper, so if for whatever reason it's not asked, it's his fault. Blame Devin. If he does take your question, hit the thumbs up, and if he doesn't, hit the thumbs up anyway because it costs you nothing. Kirk Dees, 2 different slates tonight, obviously. FanDuel pushing it back a half hour. And they're cutting off the Philadelphia-Orlando game. On DK, we got Philadelphia-Orlando. And, let's do the body parts first. Not a lot. Let's just throw them out there because that kind of leads into the conversation I was going to start. And we're going to have Keach join us in a second, too. Keach is going to be – he's part of the projections team. And, Houston's a tricky one, which we'll talk about. And he'll give us his thoughts as far as what he's doing on the lineup HQ there at Rotogrinders. But Kirk Dees, the body parts, who's in, who's out. Terrence Ross is out. And we're supposed to be excited about that because nobody else is out. Gordon's back for Houston. Wall's back for Houston. Cousins is back for Houston. All the stars are back, joining Harden and joining Wood. New York, Ntilikina's out with a knee. Burks is questionable last I saw with his ankle. Austin Rivers available, probable with his groin, although there will be a minutes limit. Quickly, did I say quickly? He's also questionable too. On DK, Kirk Dees, I'm supposed to be playing MCW like an Evan Fournier. Is that what I'm doing? I don't want to play these guys, but I may.
Yeah. So that's kind of this slate is not the greatest of all slates. We've got some extremely thin, chalky value tonight. So I guess that means it should be a pretty good GPP slate, right? Because how do you really think you're going to be taking GPPs down with a chalky Michael Carter Williams tonight? Might happen, but
here's the thing: there's a decent chance. Well, I don't want to say that. You just don't want him to blow up your lineup. He's not going to be the reason why. Because I think as of right now, unless information changes, less news shuffles, he's expected to get a bump with Terrence Ross being out, a bump in minutes, a bump in his usage as well too. Because Ross is a guy that comes off the bench, but he shoots a lot as well. And the other options for Orlando, I don't know if you feel comfortable about playing Bacon. I don't know who else is sort of interesting that may pop for you. And I guess Bacon's playable. But somebody's got to take that usage, and maybe Fultz in a little revenge game, I suppose. That game's not very exciting, and it's the first game. And the Philadelphia side's not exciting outside of Embiid, but it's just hard to get to the stars. You can certainly make that happen in tournaments, and we've seen it already. Embiid's got a monster ceiling, and we've seen him play a fair bit of minutes too in the games he does play. I'd rather like I want to be like with the field or under as far as MCW and as far as Evan Fournier, like one of the least sexy players to play. But again, just the way the cap is on DK, it's just really, really tight and uncomfortable. And we didn't mention Royce O'Neal, but he's another one that can kind of sort of make things work. And 3-and-D guy, you're just begging for him to get a shot up, which just stands in the corner and does nothing. Yeah, that's the slate. We'll talk about the other guys we like as far as that we want to spend up for, and that's the whole thing, Kirkies, right?
So like that's the big picture, right? It's like we're talking about Michael Carter Williams chalk and Royce O'Neal chalk, so we can then fit in a chalky James Harden who's going to be playing now, who doesn't even really want to be playing, and going to be playing with John Wall back, with DeMarcus Cousins back, with all of his guys back that should eat into his usage. And
is that good though? Yeah, that's the thing. Is like,
and he's got an elevated price tag, yeah. So the slate is gross. Like I would think that balance. I mean, I want to be balanced tonight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so DK specifically you're talking about right now, and I'm looking at the ownership stuff, right? We have it pulled up, and I'm sure Devin's got it on the screen as well, too. And, hey, if you want to use this at your own leisure, you want to use the lineup HQ, you want to get all the extra shows, you want to get the Andy show, you want to get the tools, you want to get the Slate IQ, all the goods here at RG. There's two different ways to do that. How do you do that, Kirk Dees? Well, one, we'll talk about prize picks in just a second because, we have a couple picks for that. So let's since I mentioned it, let's go ahead and talk about that. Use the promo code Grinders, 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 for prize picks. The link is in chat for you guys. You get 100% deposit bonus up to $100, and you get 2 months free of RG premium. RG premium. That's not the regular premium. That's not the a la carte. That's all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. There might be, I think it's everything but NASCAR. And if you don't want to play prize picks for whatever reason, you don't want to use that promo code and get yourself 2 months for free, just get yourself $10 off the first month of the a la carte if you just want basketball, or the combo every other sport with the exception of NASCAR. Links are in chat, check those out. But this is what I'm looking at here, Kirk Dees, and this is why it's ugly, and you kind of talked about it. Highest owned player on this slate, currently our projections, this is DK because it's not available on FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel too soon enough. 40% for MCW. Are we enthused? Oh, it's a revenge game. Just realized that 5 years ago he played for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of revenge in this game. You got a little Vooch revenge. You got a little Fultz revenge. There's just a lot of revenge.
If Vooch was traded for like Andrew Bynum or something like that, was he a part of that trade? Am I wrong on that? I don't know. It was part of like a 3-center trade with the Lakers. Doesn't matter. It's just daily fantasy sports, Kirk Dees. Why are we talking about something from 5 years ago? We care about today and today only. Evan Fournier, by the way, 32% project owned on DK as well too, and he's like one of the least sexy players to play, but he should play 30 to 34 minutes or so, and he shouldn't implode your lineup, which is not a rousing endorsement. You put that in the back of the DVD, you're probably not renting it. Who's renting DVDs anymore these days? I have no idea.
Chop is.
Is Chop just putting in his own personal red box at this point? Dude,
that's what he should. He should just buy a red box, stick it outside right outside his house.
Hey, wait, Big T's in chat. Let's say hi to Big T.
Yeah, Big T's also texting me his famous gif of the guys going to, you know what I'm talking about?
Windmill? I'm not watching.
No, it's one he uses quite often. But
I wasn't watching. What were you doing? What is this famous gif?
It's kind of related to a shake weight.
Oh, yeah, sure. Did you ever get one of those?
He loves a lot of that stuff. It's questionable.
I'm more of a Billy Blanks guy. I don't know about yourself, but well, never mind. We'll move on. What up,
Billy Blanks? I remember that guy.
Yeah, he's back. He's on like a Geico commercial or something like that. He's like 60 and he's ripped. Good for him. All right. As far as this slate, DK specific, we'll talk about FanDuel in a second. We're going to bring Keach on from the projections team in about 5 minutes and tell us what's going. I want to know what's going on with the Houston minutes, which we'll talk about because that seems like the trickiest thing to sort of predict. But you're right. You talked about Harden. He is still plenty expensive. It's hard to get to him. We know his upside's immense. I think it's more like the next tier of stars, right? Like you were referencing, like the Zions. Brandon Ingram. And it depends where you're shopping too, because Brandon Ingram's a much better play on DK than he is on FanDuel. But FanDuel, there's no good small forwards. So you might just say, screw it, I'm going to pay all the way up for Ingram. or you can pay all the way down for a guy like Powell or something like that, and just like hopefully you get out of there cheap and it doesn't hurt too much. All right.
Yeah, FanDuel is rough for small forwards.
It's bad. Yeah, it's real. We need Tyler Hero. We can't play him again today.
Although, I mean, actually, I kind of like some guys on there.
Do you? Okay, we'll save that, I suppose. Is there any sort? Is game stacking? Is that something we care about today? Is that something you have of interest?
Yeah, it's 5 games, 4
It's
on
5 on
FanDuel.
DK, 4 on FanDuel.
Certainly, the 5 or lower games definitely game stack is in play for sure. I mean, you don't have to force it. Obviously, pricing comes into play. I'm not looking for overtime per se. I mean, I would like to get it, but
sure.
Certainly, you want a good game environment, and the NBA has been disgusting lately. I mean, it's been just a blowout city so far. So you want to catch that good game where it's competitive.
I think you can kind of explain that just because COVID, the limited training camp, limited preseason games. Some teams only had 2, some had 3. So I think that's part of it, right? I feel like that's kind of sort of also no fans in the crowd, which I don't know how to quantify that, but I mean, I would think that affects the game in some way as far as effort and motivation. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not out there on the court, but I think that might be a thing. But you're right. And it's small samples too. So far, there's been tons and tons of blowouts. And I'm not a big game stack guy. And we'll talk about it. But if you are going to stack a game, at least one of the more minutes equal money, right? You've heard that before for sure. This Toronto-New York Knicks New York game, I mean, Toronto, we know where the minutes are going to go. It's beautiful. We know where the minutes are going to go in New York, at least for certain players. Julius Randle played like 44 the other day, playing point. Point Randle has just been fabulous. He's getting all the assists in the world. A tougher matchup today, but I think he's still pretty interesting. And we do want some clarity. Let's get some clarity as far as that backcourt situation. Rivers is back. Ntilikina is out. Do we have anything here official? Devin, are you over this? Has anything popped up on the Twitter machine? What do we have as far as the rest of the pieces for New York? Ntilikina out, Rivers probable, minutes limit. Burks, I saw questionable last, and then Quickly, who I think could be a little bit interesting. I don't know. He's 3-2 on DK. That's why I'm begging that if he plays, he might be interesting, but maybe that's a bad choice anyway. I think it hurts Elf, obviously, if Quickly plays. And Burks.
I mean, if both of them play, sure. I mean, it hurts the minutes upside for sure, but I mean, if Elf is rolling, they're going to roll. Tibbs has shown a willingness to just roll these guys minutes. I mean, he is the point guard. He's got that first crack. Quickly is the guy that I would be most worried about coming in because, at least going through throughout this season, he's going to probably be the guy that's most likely taking over the lead spot if Elf loses it. But I'm not so worried about it. I actually don't think. I mean, do you think they're going to rush back Burks and Quickly? I don't know. Rivers is going to play. He's going to play low minutes, if much at all. So I think as long as like Elf performs, which is always a big if, but he's going to have the first crack at playing a ton of minutes tonight.
But we've seen him blow it before, and we've seen Quickly, have a good run. And he's also, I don't want to say the point guard of the future, but like he's more in their future plans than Elf is. I think that we can agree on. Elf, I think, signed another 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. It wouldn't surprise me by the end of the season if Quickly's the guy and Elf is kind of like more the bench guy. But in New York, they're obviously in development. They're improved. They're better. Tibbs is just going to play his best guys and play who's doing well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Elf gets outplayed by Quickly. And he didn't have those options last game for what it's worth. And Elf, he eked his way kind of sort of somewhat there. And the Toronto side, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like they're 0-3. Are they still winless? I think they're winless. And, it's obviously the NBA. It's a long season, and most of the decent teams, even some bad teams, they make the playoffs. But Toronto's going to, they want to get a W on the board for sure. And if you look at their minutes, man, it's wild as far as their minute projection. Lowry, 36. Pascal, 36. FVV, 35. OG Anunoby, 35. And then you got to try to figure out, is it, Powell's going to kind of sort of their 6-man. Boucher can be fabulous as a tournament play today if they give him the run. And I think it was a sort of a bad matchup last game, which why they played Len more so than Boucher. And wouldn't be surprised if Boucher gets more of the run today. And he's just a super tournament play. We saw it before. When you catch him on the right night, he put up like 45 or 50 or so. Big man that can get stocks, boards, threes. He's like Mitchell Robinson with a 3-point shot. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's raw. But he's can be electric, as Chop would like to say. Yeah,
I
He's
see
in chat
Chopper in
right
chat.
now.
There he
What a,
is.
what a chat night. We got Big T ringing in the new year with us. We got Chop ringing in the new year with us. What's better than
Is
this?
he texting you or so? Who else is texting you right now?
Yeah, it's Big T was texting me. Chop's not texting me. He doesn't text. You know,
Does Chop not text? He's still like in like 1997 getting his DVDs. Yeah, he's still living
he prefers courier by courier.
pigeon carrier.
Yeah. Anyway, Boucher, right? Like he went nuts that game. Then all of a sudden doesn't play because Alex Len was a better fit. Looks like, but yeah, the Knicks are pretty thin. As far as big, I mean, Mitchell Robinson kind of like if you just picture the matchup in your head, Mitchell Robinson, Boucher, they line up pretty well together. Same with Noel. Okay, newsflash, urgent. Dean, take it away.
Yeah, we got Keach on the line. Going to be talking to us as far as what's going on tonight's slate. 5 games on DK, 4 games on FanDuel. Let's start there, Keach. What do you see as far as the major differences? Is there anything that's sort of throwing you off from a projection standpoint as far as the build on FanDuel versus DK?
I don't know. I mean, in terms of injury stuff, I mean, we obviously have like a very different situation with Houston. I mean, now with John Wall back and Cousins there in the fold, we saw a little bit in preseason, I think, like kind of what that might look like, but obviously changes a ton. Having a guy like John Wall next to James Harden is obviously a lot more impactful for Harden's production than David Nwaba would be, and even just Cousins' presence behind Christian Wood obviously makes that kind of a little bit of a volatile situation. Still expect Wood to kind of control the position there, but other than
you think they play together? Not to cut you off, but you think is there any chance that Wood and Cousins play together tonight?
I was kind of trying to debate that a little bit. I think I had like 2 minutes of projected overlap. I don't imagine that they do that much, if at all. But I kind of wanted to bake in a little bit of uncertainty. That's obviously a very little amount of uncertainty, but I think there's a very small chance. I would be kind of surprised if they did that and did it for more than a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm looking at your minutes projection right now, lineup HQ. Of course, if any new information comes in, you guys will refine it. And I'm sure yourself and Tuttle and I don't know, Andy and Alan, everybody's sort of going back and forth as far as trying to figure this out. And Tuttle will be on the next show, and he'll probably give his take as well if he didn't win out in the argument. Wall at 31 minutes seems pretty ambitious. And 31 minutes, especially at his price tag, he's $7K on FanDuel. I think he's basically the same on DK, if I'm not mistaken. Is he also $7K on DK? Doing this up 7-1. There you go, close enough. So if I get 30 minutes at a Wall, he's basically kind of sort of somewhat playing the role of Westbrook, and we've seen Harden thrive with Westbrook. So it's not like Harden can't get there, can't get to a ceiling. Maybe it's less likely to get to a ceiling. Well, he definitely is less likely to get to a ceiling with these guys back. And then Cousins, by the way, $10 on Yahoo. He can get there in like 18 minutes. Revenge game too, right back into a revenge game. Give me your thoughts as far as the Houston side. If Wall is somebody that I'm very much interested in, especially at 30 minutes. Do you feel confident at that number?
So I had him exactly where I was last night was exactly 30 minutes, which, I didn't have a ton of conviction in that number. That was just kind of, they had given him a little bit of an extended run, it seemed like, in the preseason. So I kind of thought that there was at least a decent shot he got to that number. And I still think we might get some sort of word in terms of minutes restriction closer to game time. So keeping an eye on that. One piece of news that has broke since we've been on the phone is Alec Burks is now ruled out on the New York side. So that is pretty impactful.
Quickly out as well. Not to cut you off, but Quickly and Burks are both out. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. You're going to have to figure that one out. But I guess Elf is interesting. And also Doc, Austin Rivers is back tonight, but he's going to be limited as far as his minutes. But continue. Go ahead. I cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're good. We have thought about it a little bit. I don't know if people have kind of found the what if projections that we've been doing. It's new this year. It's you can find it. We have a little article set up on the homepage, so it's not super easy to find, and it's kind of something that's new. So for premium users, definitely take a look. But we did kind of a little bit of an if-then situation with Burks out. We did include Quickly in here as being in, so it will change a little bit over the next few minutes as we kind of adjust our numbers on our side. But Julius Randle, Alfred Payton both look considerably more exciting. Obviously, Randle, playing time wise, isn't going to really be impacted much by two guards being out, but he's been used as a playmaker quite a bit. His assist numbers have been kind of skyrocketing, and even his like passes to assist, what we would expect him to have has been very high this year. So both of those two see an uptick in value. RJ Barrett sees a little bit of a spike. And just from a sheer minutes perspective, Reggie Bullock becomes kind of interesting now with those two guards back, or two guards out, excuse me.
Ugh.
We do have Austin Rivers back, so that's another, 15, 16 minutes. I would imagine they kind of ease him in. So maybe that kind of alleviates some of what Bullock might receive. So, Austin Rivers is kind of the one other new thing that's kind of in that situation right now.
By the way, this is broke as well, too. Magic starters, Fultz, Evan Fournier, Bacon's drawn the start with Gordon and Vukovic. So let's get you out of here, but I want your thoughts as far. How good do you feel about MCW chalk?
Not great. I do still think he probably plays like 25 minutes. I think Bacon probably stays in that like 22-ish, 23 minutes, something around that. Cole Anthony also could be a guy that sees a little bit more run. I think this could be kind of a situationally kind of throughout the game what they need. But we have MCW, I believe, at 25 minutes right now. So that would give him, a projection of a little bit over 20. So you're never going to feel good with MCW as a chalk play. I never have an issue fading in that scenario, especially when the minutes aren't. He's not really guaranteed anything at this point. Even 25 minutes, no guarantee he succeeds there. So, chalk MCW never easy to swallow.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get you back to work because I'm sure you got to work on the New York stuff as far as the news that just broke. And if you want to take it with anything else. That's SBK. That's Keats from the projections team. Much appreciate your time. Let's get back to the show. Hey, we want to say hello to the YouTube chat. What's up, YouTube? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're asking questions in YouTube, our producer, Devin, he's going to be all over that. Assuming it's a good question. He's the goalie, the gatekeeper for us. He's going to pull that question. He's going to jump on the show. About 15 minutes remaining in the show. He's going to ask that question for you guys. We prefer more game theory stuff, more like overarching, something that would help a bigger audience as opposed to this guy or that guy. But again, that's Devin's choices. He gets to fire up as many questions that we can fit in as far as our allotted time. Back to Kirk D's. So New York becomes interesting, right? A little bit more interesting as far as Elf.
Yeah, I was already interested. I was playing Elf no matter what. So I'm an Elf truther. So I play this guy. I mean, he can certainly let you down, and but when he's going, then he can. He's got triple double upside. So and Tibbs is just rolling these guys out a ton of minutes. So him and Randall just seem like just auto plays pretty much.
I got to say this too, by the way. If you're asking questions, got to specify. Please tell us what site, FanDuel or DK or Yahoo. I'm sure the Kirk D's can handle those. And I did some rankings for Yahoo as well today. And let us know if it's for cash or for tournaments. That's very important. That really has a lot to do as far as answering the question. So again, asking questions, Devin's all over it, and tell us what, and he's compiling it. If he's not ignoring you, he'll let you know. We'll ask it later. At least we'll do our best to ask it later. All right, but you mentioned Julius Randle as a lock, and I love Randle. I'm not here to besmirch, and he's playing like the Noah role, like a Tibbs offense, like this point Randle, touching the ball a ridiculous amount, tons of assists, tons of potential assists. Pascal's on him. That's a tricky matchup for sure, but I also think he's still good. The tricky part here is, you ready for it? If there's a strong spot in this slate today, like, the small forwards, the power forwards, I like Zion. I like Ingram. Do you think Randle is distinctly better than those guys? Because I don't. I like all of them, and I'm just going to kind of shuffle through.
I shouldn't have said lock. I'm just pro Randle right now. I mean, the dude's taken over this team. Tibbs is fine with it, essentially. I mean, he gave him 44 minutes, 37 minutes the time before. Of course, you had some extra time in one of them. But he's just being super aggressive, and he's, that's what we want for fantasy. Now, Zion has looked the exact opposite, to be honest with you, so far, at least in that last game against Phoenix. I mean, he was just horrendous, and they just got blown out for sure.
They got walloped, yeah.
Yeah, but he was a big reason for that. He was sitting on the baseline doing nothing, and also just horrendous on the defensive end. So I certainly like where Randall's game is right now at the moment. Now, the thing about the Knicks that strikes me, so I've been watching Toronto pretty closely, and what they haven't been – they're a good defensive team for sure. They've been a little bit worse than expected so far, but they're still pretty good. But they've been giving up a ton of threes, right? So who on the Knicks is going to be a guy that can take some threes in this spot tonight? I know Randall's going to shoot them. He's not a 3-point shooter by any means, but Elf is not a guy that should capitalize. I mean, who
Barrett's been bad from 3 as well too,
Yeah.
but he's a willing shooter.
Yeah.
There is some sticker shock on Barrett as well too. It's 6'9" on DK. That's not so nice, ironically. Fandle, a little better play. I think he's like 6'2" over there. I mean, you could play him on DK, but just not really popping for me. Hey, so let's talk about Fandle for a second, because the Sacramento side. Oh, this is always, I think this is very important as far as this year, more so than other years. It's back-to-backs. And I like this slate because we have many teams that are not on a back-to-back, and multiple teams that have really, really predictable minutes. That's New York, that's Toronto, and that's New Orleans. Stan is playing his guys too. Assuming they're not getting absolutely walloped, and you can't really predict that kind of goofy blowout. But Houston versus Sacramento. Sacramento is on a back-to-back, but this is more FanDuel specific, where Fox is popping for me. Marvin Bagley is cheap enough. I think Bagley's more of a DK guy, actually. But Fox, Buddy Hield. Oh, there's Chop and Chat. He'll see Buddy Hyde. Oh man, I hate that price on DK. Hate it. He plays a ton of minutes. Harry Barnes and just got to eke his way there because he's cheap enough and he plays a ton of minutes as well too. Talk to me about the Sacramento side, because I think there's some interesting pieces. And even, go ahead. I'll chime in afterwards. I'll shut up. But tell me your thoughts on Sacramento.
No, I think with De'Aaron Fox is priced pretty nicely on both sides, to be honest with you. So, he's had a good game, in his last game, which was nice to see, coming off of a complete dud. But I think the dud was just an outlier. He's going to be someone that's going to be looking to push the pace. You would expect that the Rockets to be faster now with John Wall in the lineup. Nobody goes quicker when he's on from baseline to baseline than John Wall, but De'Aaron Fox will certainly be looking to push the pace too as well. So this game could be a lot faster than what it looks like to the normal, what the normal pace numbers would look like. So those are guys interested me. Bagley's just cheap, and there's upside there. There's potential to get increased minutes with him, that you're kind of working his way back, but and he's not seeing huge minutes, but there is always that potential for the game to go small with Houston. That's something that we didn't really talk about too, is that, when we're talking about Cousins and Wood, but there's also the potential to go small with PJ Tucker down there at times, right? So that could certainly be the case, and Bagley would be a great fit in that scenario. So I like Bagley, but Buddy's minutes have just been ridiculous so far, and the shots,
it's not good, but yeah, the minutes have been there.
I think he's decent. He's just struggling from a shooting perspective right now, but certainly could go off tonight in this game and starts hitting his shots. Then there's a lot of upside there, especially on FanDuel. His price is just too cheap, but I think he's not going to get a ton of love on DraftKings because his price is kind of elevated. And
6'8", come on.
Yeah, but you get that 3-point bonus. It's a gross slate. I think he's a good GPP play tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again, I know that the salaries are pointing me on FanDuel for Hield, but on DK, I can't imagine I'm doing it. And I hear you. He's a guy in theory, like we've seen it before, theoretically, hit 5 or 6 or 7 threes. It's definitely happened. We do have the Houston starting lineup for what it's worth, and it would be as you'd predict: Wall, Harden, House, Tucker, and Wood. Yeah. All right. Where else are we going to go? What else do we want to talk about here as far as this slate? I'm trying to think if we've missed anybody. Is there anybody worth focusing on? Toronto. If you're going to play one guy in Toronto, FVV, Lowry, Pascal, OG, again, all those guys, assuming there's no blowout, are going to play 34, 35, possibly 36, 37 minutes against New York. So I think they're all super interesting. Do you have a favorite amongst that group?
I like Lowry. I like Siakam too. He took a little, he struggled in his last game and took a little criticism from the coach saying that, he's got to be a little bit better down the stretch and whatnot. I think you're going to see a motivated Siakam tonight in this game. 8,300 is a little tough on DK, but his price on Yahoo is certainly appealing for sure. I think he's a phenomenal play over there. And I think the defensive stats are going to come. We'll see how this Knicks team ends up playing, throughout the stretch with Tibbs. They've been a little bit better at protecting the ball, but I think there's certainly a good chance for some defensive stats for Siakam.
I messed around and made a couple of Yahoo lineups, and I think Pascal was in every single one of them. I agree. I thought he was too cheap over there. So Embiid and Simmons on DK. I think they're mostly going to be ignored. Is that a mistake? Like, nobody's playing anybody in Philadelphia here. Let me go ahead and pull up our ownership stuff as far as the Philadelphia side, right? We're seeing Danny Green at 16%, Embiid at 15%, which I think Green seems a little high. I don't know. And then Harris at 7%, Simmons at 4%. And then, of course, we go to the Orlando side where some theoretical value has opened up on a slate where it's not a lot of value with Ross being out. So MCW is 35% owned. It is interesting. Nobody's going to play Bacon, and I get why, but he is starting and probably plays like 24 minutes. I would guess he doesn't close. He's also not great at basketball. It's kind of a problem sometimes. But he is super cheap, and he's drawing the start. He's 3.3K. But again, one of the things we talk about this year is you want to buy yourself more time, backload. I just don't know if things are going to open up this evening. Maybe I'm wrong, but again, all island games with the exception of, I believe it's Sacramento. I wrote this down. Sacramento, Phoenix. Phoenix and Utah. I think this is the front end of a back-to-back for Utah and for Phoenix, which is the game we haven't talked about yet. Should we talk about it? Let's talk about it. Thoughts on that game?
Well, should I talk about the Sixers at all, which is where we started, or just completely throw that away?
Let's talk about the Sixers first. I apologize.
I got a couple. So, sure, the Sixers are going to start playing better. Embiid certainly could be, and the projections don't like Embiid, so he's going to get less play tonight. But are you telling me that he can't outscore Harden with all these guys back?
Oh, of course he can.
And for a much cheaper price. So I think he should be in play. And a guy that I like on the second unit, shout out to big time sports handicapper who told me that Shake Milton, his name is Zazzy. Zaz is the guy's name, a sports handicapper. He told me Shake Milton was going off tonight for high usage in the second unit. So he got my attention. So I think he's worth a sprinkle and some GPPs if he's going to facilitate and run that second unit.
He's got to get there through points, for the record. Jake. Yeah, he's got to get there through buckets. But go ahead.
Yeah, he was betting. He found over props on them and was betting them. I don't know who was offering them, but
my sports betting authority is Vegas Dave. I'm not aware of the Zazzy character, but
he's quite a character. You'll hear about him soon enough.
All right, fair enough.
Anyways, so those are the guys, but Tobias Harris is just kind of that. He's coming off 2 really strong games, just kind of that should be consistent player. The minutes are always there with him, ability to score. So, and you get that little revenge narrative too on the other side. So I like that. But yeah, so let's talk about the Phoenix game now.
I don't like much in this game, and I feel like I should, but I don't. Is that? I mean, I just think everybody's sort of like appropriately priced. Chris Paul on the front end of a back-to-back. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe if they really push him tonight, he just sets tomorrow, and who cares? And we don't have that information. I just think everybody's priced where they should be, and that's that.
Yeah, I hear you. I think there's some potential. I think the game's going to be slept on. So if that's the case, then I like it. I'm still waiting for Devin Booker to show up. Now his price on DraftKings is tough to play. It's tough to pay 8,600 for the performances we've seen so far. But on FanDuel, it's certainly reasonable. So I like taking shots at him. DeAndre Ayton is another guy, and there's people will look at the past history and say he's just been absolutely owned by Gobert, which is true. But from a conceptual standpoint, it makes sense that he would be able to have some decent offensive games. Again, he's kind of a quicker, more offensive-minded player than Gobert, and he'll certainly shoot a little bit from the mid-range, a little bit pulled away from the basket. So I think he's going to have a good game against Gobert soon. So why not give him a shot tonight?
You like Gobert?
I do like Gobert, and I like his price everywhere. His price is just kind of disrespectful to what he's been doing so far. I mean, he's coming off 3 really strong games. He pushed a big minute total in the last game. If this game is competitive, which I think it should be, these are 2 good teams, right? Like these are 2 teams that projected to be playoff contenders this season. So this could be a underlooked game, and Gobert has that high floor, but also has a lot of upside.
I just have a bias against him because he doesn't shoot threes, and it's 2020, and like that's and sometimes you're begging for him to get those 10 points, get that double double, and other times he gets 6 or 7 blocks, and like who cares? It doesn't matter. He just got there a different way. 7 blocks and 20 boards. Okay, he put up 12 points, but you're still fine. Yeah, but it's just sort of a mental. I'll play him. Doesn't mean I when unwilling, but I just kind of pick my spots with them. Hey, you want to bring Devin on? He's been compiling questions throughout the show. Again, last chance to get some in, or I don't know what's the last chance, depending on how many Devin has compiled. But if you guys are in chat, first of all, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Doesn't cost you anything. And then if you have any questions, Devin's going to pull them. He's going to jump on the show in a second. If you have a question, please tell us what site, and is it tournament or cash? Thanks much. Devin, come on down.
How's it going?
Hey, Devin, how are things? How's the show going?
It's going great. It's New Year's Eve. I'm feeling good. And, just right here, I've got a little champagne ready to go. So
look at you, man. How deep are we into that champagne? So
I haven't even touched it. I haven't even touched it. My wife brought it in like 5-10 minutes ago. So
Happy New Year's to you, Devin, and everybody else watching. There you go.
Happy New Year's to everyone.
Bon année, Devin.
We all know what that means.
There you go.
We're cultured here.
There you go.
So it's a callback to the pre-show conversation, just for the two of them. Hey, tournament questions. Kirk Dees, that's you. I'll take the cash questions. We'll stay in our lanes. If you want to veer over, if you have like a strong take and you disagree, by all means, go for it. But Devin, fire away.
All right, this one's for Kirk. Nathan would like to know, is Lonzo a good play at 6,500 on DK?
I think he's
night, right?
Yeah, no, his shot is going to. I don't think he's shooting very well.
Oh no, I was thinking of LaMelo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, LaMelo.
That's his brother.
Sure,
the other
his
ball.
brother. He's got a higher upside for sure. He's the better ball, but I think Lonzo is certainly in play. I think Pelicans are better show up tonight after that performance last game, and so I think he's in play.
I got a question for Devin. Do you like being the Frenchman? Do you like Rudy Gobert? I said I have a bias against him. Do you have a pro Gobert bias?
I mean, I'm not going to hate a fellow Frenchman, right? I will say his antics with the microphone in the beginning of the pandemic was a little bit silly, but
Yeah, he was maybe fully informed, but yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Continue.
It was the early days.
Yeah.
Parth would like to know, who are the priority studs on FanDuel?
Yeah. Are we calling Fox a stud? Kirk Dees?
I don't know if he's a stud. I mean, I'd say Siakam. I'll call him a stud, but I mean, Fox is certainly in play.
I think,
but I mean, it's basically, is it Harden or not? Like that should be the question.
I don't think it is. Like I think you can, but my first build here. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull up my first build. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to read off my lineup. But it's more of a balanced lineup.
Read it, Dean.
Well, no, I know the rules, man. But as far as let's see, unfair. Are we going to call Fox a stud? Because I think SGA, who we haven't even talked about, is perfectly fine on FanDuel. I'm not saying he's necessarily in this first main lineup I made. Zion, I believe in the bounce back. I believe Stan Van Gundy is going to run these guys just like Tibbs does. Zion can play 36, 37, 38 minutes, especially on a game that's not a back-to-back. Not the front end, not the back end. It's an island game. And Pascal Siakam, love Pascal tonight. There you go. All those guys may or may not be in my main lineup currently. And there was no James Harden because, hey, we live in the world of salary cap.
So the answer is no stud is really.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, well, it depends how do you define stud? I guess if it's just Harden, then I guess
my answer. I like that build. I think I know what build you're using, and I'd say put Randall over Zion personally.
Are you in the secret chat? I'm not, because did I come up with that all on my own?
No, I'm just guessing at what I think your build would be.
Okay. I'll change it if everybody else is going to have it.
All right, let's get to the next one. Jacob would like to know, new to NBA DFS, when game stacking, what is the max players from each side you'll play?
Kirk, you answer that one
like
because I don't think it's
Slate specific, right?
Yeah, it's all price driven. I mean, you can have
specific.
nights when everybody's ruled out and they're like all 3K where you can jam like four guys in there or whatever. But typically it's 3 is my max. Usually it's 2. I prefer like 2 and 2 on a game stack, or a 3 and 2. But they have to be priced really to get over 2. They got to be cheap value, like good value.
I ran lineups the other night with OKC where it was like 3 OKC and none on the other side. Like the other, I didn't necessarily have to run it back. Everybody else was kind of priced fairly, and OKC was just super, super thin, and not just super thin, but like Kirk D said, super cheap. Yeah, and then now you can splurge on the studs like
last night was a perfect example on DraftKings where like the common like cash build, which also worked out for GPPs because it all went off, was like 3 Spurs and 3. I can't remember who the other team. What was the other team last night?
I forget. It was a good night for me, but I don't remember any of it. I have no clue.
Steve would like to know Lowry or Fox on DK.
Woof. I mean, that's probably like a rest of your lineup question, right? Depending on now. Again, I don't force correlation, Kirk D's. But
Free Celtics was the answer.
There you go. That's what it was. Yeah, the Tice. People were very, very concerned about Tice the first minute of that game when he got injured. He did come back, thankfully. What's your thoughts there? Is that more like how many guys you're running back in the other side as like a tiebreaker, as far as Fox versus Lowry?
No, I mean, who's the better play? I think they're both pretty equally play. So go with the one that you think. If you have a strong take on one that's going to perform better, or if there's an ownership, but like they're like projects basically the same.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, a tiebreaker. I agree.
I think I mean, I guess so. If I'm playing some Houston guys and I want like if I have a couple of Houston guys or I'm playing Harden, then yeah, it makes sense to bring it back with De'Aaron Fox over Kyle Lowry in that situation.
And it's important to note the difference in game contest type between your answers. Right.
Yes.
Kirk's talking tournaments, right? So let's go with Mike. Wants to know, could you talk about the 4 point guards between 76 and 8,100 on DK? And that is SGA, Fox, Lowry, and Mitchell. Maybe you can just rank those 4.
All right, Kirk D's. Here we go. Fox is 7'8", Lowry is 7'7", Mitchell 7'6". You said FVV as well, or Wall, or no? We
nope.
Get to those guys?
SGA, Fox, Lowry, and Mitchell.
Oh, okay. It's funny because I would. Well, yeah, okay. It's a little bit cheaper. I think you can introduce FEV and Wall to the conversation as well. But all right, Kirkies, SGA, Fox, Lowry, Mitchell. And the tricky part is the cap is tight. I will say this off the bat. Mitchell's last for me out of that group.
So I would say for GPPs tonight on this slate that's like kind of gross, Mitchell would be like my number 1 for GPP because I think a big game is coming and he's been terrible and he's going to be out of favor. So it all depends on contest style, but like, sure. From like a raw projection standpoint, he's definitely the worst.
It's interesting. I just pulled up I guess I got to give it a refresh, but Mitchell, I'm seeing at 24% as far as the ownership on DK. That is surprising to me. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
People are searching for that late night New Year's Eve hammer.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think he's perfectly fine, but I prefer the other guys a little bit more. And that's that. And we haven't seen Bubble Mitchell just yet. It doesn't mean it's not there and he can't break out like Curtis was talking about, but I just feel better about the other ones. Does that mean I won't have like one share? I'm running 10 lineups on DK tonight in the 55 and like everything else as well too. So he might crack one lineup. That's 10% for those math makers out there.
Right on brand.
How can you feel better about John Wall over Donovan Mitchell?
Oh, because Wall can do everything, man. And like we saw in the preseason, he looked fabulous. I'm not sure how much of the preseason you saw if you play preseason DFS, and
he looked good one game.
That's all. Hey, tonight DFS, all we care about.
That's all we care about is this one game.
And he's also 7K. John Wall, like normal John Wall from 3 years ago, whatever. I know Harden's on the other side. He didn't play with Harden. He played with Beal. But he was a 9K player. it's built in. That's baked in. He's 7K. It's a massive discount, man. It's like you ever go to Best Buy and they get the ding in the TV. It's like $300 off. Well, it's like free because TVs are so cheap these days. But you understand my point. I'll take the ding on John Wall at 7K and take my chances.
All right. Nathan wants to know best shooting guard option on DK under 6K.
Ooh, under 6K, Kirk Dees. What do you have for me? I'm taking a peek as well too.
Wow. I got it. Evan Fournier.
Oh.
So let me give you my Fournier spiel. So he didn't sign a big contract. He needs to have a good year. He needs to get a little bit more aggressive. We haven't seen it yet. This is a game where they're going to need his shooting. You get the situation with Terrence Ross out. I think he can play some extended minutes with that second unit too. Like there'll be more overlap with Fournier. So I think he's a good play tonight at 5,500. Now, of course, he could suck. Like that's just par for the course with this guy. But the opportunity is there.
The problem with that question is that like that position doesn't fit that salary basically because Fournier is like the only guy in that grouping that is playable. But yeah, I see why they're at a quandary.
There's Jingles. There's
well, he's like 4-3, but yeah, Jingles is
feeling the holiday season.
He's rough.
Joe Ingles.
Yeah, so much for Narrative Street, man. He's been rough. I feel better about Royce O'Neal than Jingle and Joe, I think, which is, I mean, again, neither you feel great about.
Oh, and then there's Bledsoe.
Oh, how do you feel about Bledsoe? We didn't talk about him.
I mean, there's upside there. There's potential there, and he's been terrible his last 2 games. I faded him when he was massive chalk, but he's not chalk tonight, and he's 5,600. Like it's definitely a good game is definitely a potential outcome.
We were
for
talking
5,600 for him.
We were talking Elf on the Shelf earlier. He's at 5'9" on DK, right?
Yeah, but he's not a shooting guard. I don't believe.
I see. You're right.
They're asking maybe if you could shuffle. They've messed around with some of the multi-position stuff, and it was a little harder for me last night making it work. Like they didn't give the same guys forward and guard, and it's like, come on, man, hook! I want to make this like a pick'em, like it always is. And
then some guys on DK are guard, shooting guard, point guard, and then small forward on FanDuel, which is lovely.
Tyler Hero's a small forward on FanDuel, but we'll move on.
All right, Steve wants to know Whiteside on DK for a tournament.
Oof. No.
Yeah, why not?
Former teammates, by the way. Whiteside and Cousins were former teammates.
I love the evolution.
Back in Sacramento.
The evolution of that answer. It just, why not?
I have reasons why not, but he's terrible. But he's also a good fantasy player, and I just can't imagine him getting more than 15 minutes unless it's a blowout.
Well, shockingly, we only have 3 minutes left, so let's get to some lightning round. Donnie
lightning.
wants to know on DK.
Oh, this is where we excel.
Yeah, right. It's our bread and butter. DK at his ownership percentage. Kurt, are you throwing any Halliburton darts? Specifically thinking single entry.
Yes.
That.
Halliburton is a sneaky good play tonight. I mean, if most people who aren't watching and paying attention don't realize how good he's been playing, but I mean, yeah, definitely having shares.
Not lightning, but he's good. Congratulations to Sacramento. You actually made a good draft pick. You did something good in the last 5 years. I took shots of Vlade Divac and Vivek the other day. Good job on Halliburton. Problem is, it hasn't really showed up in the box score. He's not smashing fantasy points per minute. He's just good, but maybe that's going to change soon. I like him.
Man, all right. JD
lightning.
Would like to know on DK Cash, Wall, Barrett, and Chris Paul or Tobias Harris.
What?
I guess that's out of those 4.
Well, those are different positions, aren't they? Wait,
so it's probably the first 2 versus the last 2, right?
The or is between the 3rd and 4th. So, JD, why don't you drop that question in chat again? Morning Wood would like to know.
Now it's too much time.
Favorite center on FanDuel for tournaments.
Favorite center?
Yes, tournaments on FanDuel.
Kirk Dees.
Gobert.
Yeah, so he's probably going to be the chalk Gobert. So I would say it's rough. I would say Mitchell Robinson, but they're both chalk.
He's the chalk. Mitchell Robinson's the chalk right now.
Yeah, they're both going to be.
All right. Kyle wants to know, do you like OG tonight, Julius Randle, and Ingram in the same lineup?
Yes. Like all 3.
Yeah.
That was a resounding yes. I like it. Eric wants to know, how much Shake Milton are you playing?
0.
Some. At least some. Zazzy. This is the Zazzy play of the day.
Sean would like to know Zion
Get some
or
shake.
Say it again.
Sean would like to know Zion or Randall.
That's a really, really tricky question. I'm gonna throw out the Kirk Dees. I like them both.
I'm on Randall. I mean, on DK, I'm on Randall on everywhere.
I've been talking about the Randall and his touches and he's getting these assists. They're absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think they're completely fraudulent. I think it's legit. He's handling the ball there a ton. They don't have a lot of ball handlers there either in New York. But I know we got to go, Devin. But Randall is fabulous. He is priced up, but I think he's still justifiable in tournaments.
Yep.
Is that it?
We're out there. Home, Dean.
All right. If you guys are premium members, go ahead and check out. Next. I think they're a little tipsy, so it's gonna be fun for sure. Andy Means, Mr. Tuttle, and Roth going to take you guys all up to lock, and I imagine go beyond lock and talk some FanDuel as well too. There you go. If you guys want to become premium members, check out the links there in chat. You get $10 off your first month, or you can just sign up with the promo code Grinders on Prize Picks. Get yourself 2 months free of RG Premium. Everybody, enjoy yourself. Have a happy New Year. I'm glad you guys watched the show. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. That was Kirk Dees. That was Devin. I was Dean. This was basketball. We're out of here. Holler.